column chromatography, on Microscale, the column is the longer piece out of the Microscale kit. In the lure tip, make sure there's a little frit inside. Then insert the tip in one end of the column. Next, attach the stopcock. The stopcock is usually pretty tight, so make sure you hold the pieces together as you turn the stopcock. Use a 3-finger clamp to hold the column in a vertical position. If the column is tilted, it will not pack evenly. With the stopcock closed, put the funnel in the top. Then you want to add the component. The column will be made of hexane and alumina. Fill the column with hexane first until you have about 6 mils. Alumina, even though it's a solid, is easily measured with a graduate because it's a really fine powder. You want to prepare a slurry with about 6 mils of alumina and about 4 to 5 milliliters of hexane. As I mix this, you can see the alumina settles very quickly. So I need to swirl and pour it onto the column. Open the stopcock and then tap it to pack it. As I start pouring, I open the stopcock. As it starts packing, the drip will slow down. I can just keep reusing the hexane coming through to get the rest of the slurry onto the column. Make sure you tap evenly and gently so as not to break the column. The alumina needs to pack evenly to provide for good separation of your mixture. As long as the amount packed onto the column is about 2/3 to 3/4 the height of the column, not all of the alumina needs to be transferred. Give the column a few additional taps to make sure all of the alumina is settled before you add the washed sand. Now that the alumina is packed, you apply about 1/8 of an inch of washed sand to the top of the alumina so that when I apply the sample, it does not fluff up the alumina. Remember that just like with the alumina, any angle in the sand across the column will also influence the angle of the bands. The excess hexane can be removed with a pipette. However, keep in mind that the column should never be allowed to go dry, which means the solvent level should never go below the level of the sand. The only time the solvent level is allowed to run down even to the top of the sand is when the sample is applied. Otherwise, there should be at least 1/4 inch of solvent over the level of the sand at all times. The sample is applied directly to the sand, immediately directly to the top of the sand. So I'm going to open this up again, allowing the hexane to come just above the level of the sand. Gently apply the sample to the sand, keeping the alumina from being disrupted. Allow the sample to run onto the column, and once it's at the top of the sand, place additional hexane on the column. The bands will start to separate almost immediately based on polarity. Remember, it's important to keep the solvent level above the sand and not let it go dry. As the sample moves down the column, the nonpolar hexane will elute the nonpolar component of the mixture. Once it's collected and out of the column, you can then change the solvents to a more polar one to elute the more polar compound. I'm going to fill this just to show you flash chromatography. A bulb can be used to force the liquid through faster. Flash chromatography is used since gravity takes more time. Be sure to watch the solvent level as you gently force the solvent through the column. If you allow it to go dry, you can push too much air through the column and you run your bands together. Another bulb that's useful is a small blue bulb, and it works just as well. Be careful. If you allow the bulb to suck while it's still on the column, You can pull up the entire column, including the alumina, and it will lift and break into sections and cause channeling, and then you have to start over.